Hello, everybody. It's your boy, the Punk Otaku Scribe. Hey, who doesn't like vampires? The only correct answer is nobody. Nobody dislikes vampires. How could you dislike vampires? They're mysterious, they're alluring, they're so effortlessly cool. Or at least for many generations they were. Their recent time in the spotlight in pop culture hasn't necessarily been kind to them. Being as old and prominent as they are, vampires became very stale after a while. So, what do you do when something becomes really stale? You go in a new direction with it. They tried making them romantic, they tried making them cute and funny, and those things worked for a lot of people for a little while, but then they quickly became stale again, losing their bite. Robert Eggers, though, has brought that bite back. Nosferatu 2024 is everything I want out of a Robert Eggers movie. It's gloomy, it's bleak, it's dark, it's gothic. Every shot in this movie is masterful. The performances are top notch. It's an all around really great movie. Fictional vampire lore as we know it, we owe to Bram Stoker's 1894 novel Dracula. This book set the stage for vampire lore for generations after it. It made all the rules and nearly everything you've seen as a vampire, and it took inspiration from it. You wouldn't have it if it wasn't for this book. And as I mentioned before, vampires went into a new direction as the generations went on. But this movie, though, Nosferatu 2024, is taking vampires back to the roots. Count Orlok in this isn't this suave, charismatic, good looking guy that lives high up in a castle. No, in this, he's decrepit and monstrous and ugly and imposing. He's a monster. Count Orlok in this is in no way humanized. He doesn't have a sad backstory. He's not this mysterious, brooding character that does bad things because he's sad and brooding. No, he's just a monster, a manipulative, ugly monster that when he sees something he wants, he takes it. And he's animalistic, and if he's hungry, he's gonna eat. If he's thirsty, he's gonna drink. And if he wants your girl, he's gonna take her. It's very rare these days that we actually get a villain like this, a monster that's just a monster for the sake of being a monster. Robert Eggers' direction with this, I believe, was the great take. A lot of what he does has a very cold and upfront take on things. It's very stark and very in your face. And with vampires, vampires are what he portrays them to be in this movie. They're these disturbing, hungry things in the night that you should be afraid of. There's a scene in the movie where Nicholas Holt's character, Thomas Hutton, I believe, is in the village outside of Count Orlok's castle, and he comes upon this ritual where every night they go out this village and they find a buried vampire and they drive a stake through its heart. And it's not seen as like this heroic thing or like this rallying thing. No, it's a very cold and disturbing thing. And even though they're coming at this monster to kill it, you can tell that they're very afraid of it. They treat these things like they are these demonic night beings that will feast on your blood when you least expect it. That's just one of the many elements about this movie that I just really respect. Another is the performances. They're all peak and top notch. They're all pitch perfect, especially Lily Rose Depp as Ellen. Now, apparently, Ellen in this movie was going to be originally played by Anya Taylor-Joy, is what I've heard. And I like Anya Taylor-Joy in everything I've seen her in. I legitimately enjoy her as a performer. And it looked like for a while she was going to be a staple in Eggers' films, but I guess some scheduling conflicts happened or what have you, so a recast was done. And honestly, I'm really glad for that. Because Lily Rose Depp just brought something to this role that I don't think Anya Taylor-Joy could have. Lily Rose Depp brought a sort of innocence to the role, I think, that really helped you connect with the character and everything that she's going through in this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy would have done a good job, but it wouldn't have been this. After having seen this one, I really believe that it's gonna be a third adaptation that is considered one of the definitive adaptations of the Dracula story, despite it being Nosferatu. I think what constitutes that, though, is the performance of the Count, whether Dracula or Nosferatu. I really wish that we'd not been told that it was Bill Skarsgård playing Count Orlok, at least not until closer to the movie's release. Because if you hadn't told me that it was Bill Skarsgård, I wouldn't have known, man. With this makeup, that even though you can hardly see it, when you do, you don't see him, and that voice, that booming, intimidating voice. I had no idea it was him. He completely disappears into this character. I thought he was phenomenal. And frankly, now that he's played Count Orlok and he played Pennywise in the It movies, the Andy Muschietti It movies, I kind of see him becoming kind of like a new Doug Jones, a new creature actor. He's very good at it, and he only has two of the roles on his belt, but I really think he has a future in this. Also, I'm sorry, but did anyone else hear Nandor the Relentless when he was speaking?
The midnight hour has passed,
around which the sun and the moon and all the stars revolve.
leave there your conveniences.
With if found love, I had 37 wives, and one of them I specifically remember I really loved.
Speaking of that meeting scene between Thomas Hutton and Count Orlok, I really appreciate it because it actually reinvigorated the feeling of dread and fear that you should feel with that character in that scene. Because as much as I love the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola, that scene between Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman's Dracula doesn't really feel the same as this. You should be afraid along with Jonathan Harker and Thomas Hutton, but in the 1992 film, you're really not, because Jonathan Harker, Keanu Reeves' performance, after he offends Dracula and Dracula reacts, he's just like, oh, sorry.
Oh, yes.
It is no laughing matter.
I have offended you with my ignorance, Count.
In the meeting scene in 1992, I'm taken by the filmmaking, not so much Keanu Reeves' performance. And Nosferatu 2024, in that theater, I'll admit it, I was scared. Whether you like F.W. Murnau's version of Nosferatu, or the 1931 Dracula, or Werner Herzog's version of Nosferatu, or the Hammer Dracula, or the 1992 Dracula, or even this Nosferatu, you have a lot to choose from. Even though they're all telling basically the same story, they're all so different in tone. And that's what makes this character so great. He's so versatile, and that's because the novel that he comes from leaves a lot to the imagination. He's a great character, and this is a great story, which is why it's been adapted so many times. In the wake of this movie's success, I would love to see more like it. I would love to see Eggers' take on Frankenstein, but Guillermo del Toro, is already doing his own version that's coming out. And while, yeah, his style is vastly different from Eggers', he can still be dark and bleak all on its own. So I think that's going to be really interesting. I feel this movie has definitively shown that when put in the right hands, these classic monsters can be made scary again. And I think just like with everything that's successful, it is going to have follow-ups. It is going to have others trying to repeat its success. And I welcome that. I believe that that's going to be really great to see. It may not all be great, and it won't all necessarily be good, but to see these characters come back and be given, hopefully, the respect that they all deserve, I think is gonna be really cool. Sure, it may not be new, it may not be refreshing. These are characters that have long existed, but we've given Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger a million movies, so it's time that the OG guys came back and had their spot in the spotlight again. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Nosferatu 2024. What did you think of it if you saw it already? Do you think I'm right? Do you think that this means that we can bring back all of those original monsters and make them all scary and great again? Do you feel like this was just another weird Robert Eggers movie and yeah, it was fine, but you're not going to see it again? Or did you not like it at all? Did you feel like it just didn't really do what it set out to do? It was just kind of lame, a little too loud. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Let's talk everything Nosferatu, Dracula, Robert Eggers down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
The vampire.